Hi everyone. I feel like I haven't been on camera in such a long time. My name is Sally and I'm a mixed media artist in Australia. I had initially thought that my first video that I would be recording when I got back from my trip would be my Vancouver vlog and flip through of the travel sketchbook that I kept. But I tested positive for COVID the day that I landed back at home and I'm still not feeling amazing. And I didn't want to record that video and present that video until I was feeling 100% better. But I did need to set up my October bullet journal. So today's video is going to be the setup and flip through of my October bullet journal spread. It's spooky season. See this guy? I actually picked that up in Vancouver. I will talk a little bit about my trip in this video. But yeah, it's October, it's spooky season, so let's do like a horror themed spread. So grab your supplies, grab your bullet journal, let's go. Okay, so when I was coming up with a theme, and here's my spooky press on nails, I'll link the brand in the description box below. When I was coming up for a theme for October, it's just a no brainer to do something horror. I didn't film every page process, but I did film me making the cover page and one of the more interesting spreads inside. So this is an idea that I've had rolling around in my brain for a while now, to do this kind of thing. So, in relation to a portrait series, I wanted to kind of test it out in my bullet journal and see if it would come out the way that I had pictured it in my mind. So I grabbed two of my red gouaches and I'll link them in the description box below. And I wanted it to be quite liquid, so I added a lot of water. And this brush is fantastic for holding water. So I just mixed the two paints together, made sure it was really liquid because I needed to also be able to put text on top of it. I grabbed a glove because I know a lot of artists wear gloves anytime they paint. I don't, but I don't like to get a lot of paint on my hand, and this was going to all be done with my hand, which was a lot of fun. So if you haven't done any kind of finger painting in a while, highly recommend. Just get a really lightweight glove and go for it. So I wanted it to look like smeared kind of blood on the wall with like the bloody handprint running down the side. So that's just what I did with my hand in the paint. And just kind of made it messy and then added some splatter with the brush, which was still loaded up and quite wet. And the great thing about this bullet journal is that the paper is quite nice and thick and it's great for wet media. Like, I can always use paint and markers in it. Not alcohol markers, but like regular felt tip markers. Don't bleed through. Don't get any bleed through from paints. And there was quite a lot of water added to this time. I love the way that this looks. I love the way it turned out. I think it's sick, and I'm definitely going to get to a start on that portrait series soon. And this is how I'm going to do it. The backgrounds. So then I just grabbed a brush marker, and this is my favorite one. It's a really, really fine tip, but it's not that it's dry, but when you use it, it's got a lot of texture, and I wanted it to be this sort of scratchy, rough kind of font. So that's the cover page, and I love it. Then we start with the calendar, and I picked up these washi tapes. When I was in Vancouver, I went to a Michael's store, and for my Australian viewers, it's just like Spotlight. And I'm not saying that I kicked off Neon Goth, but Neon Goth was everywhere in their Halloween section, which I was stoked about. So I took this footage in the store. I could have literally bought everything. I ended up coming home with that orange skull, and that's sitting in my studio. You might have seen that in my intro. But yeah, stoked to see that Neon Goth is worldwide. It's a whole movement. So I picked up that washi tape at Michael's, and it's got some. It was a set of four, some spider webs, some bugs, a snake, little black cats, and there's my to-do page, video ideas and expenses, again with the bloody fingerprints running down the page. I've got my brain dump and watch list, and I thought because it's horror season, I'm going to do a horror watch list as well, and add some horror movies. So if you've got any recommendations, anything that's streaming, please pop it in the comments, because I'm always up for some new horror movies. And that's a little close-up of what the text looks like. I've got my playlist, and I just use the red gouache for that as well. If you've watched my other bullet journal videos, you'll know that how I fill out the playlist. And then, so October the 1st is a Sunday. I start my spreads, I go Monday to Sunday weekly. So it's just going to be one page. So I just did a little ghost. And then I started with the weeklies. Because I haven't been feeling too amazing or really inspired, I referenced my spreads quite heavily from Pinterest images that I found. So I'll link that Pinterest board in the description box so you can check that out. There was my full moon in Libra, and then the little black cats page, which is very cute. Little black kitties. Okay, this page, this spread is something I love doing, this kind of like Dutch door type spread. And last year I did a whole Twin Peaks theme, and I did it with like the red curtains and then some illustrations around it. And then further in that month, I also did another one with the best friends locket. And it's just a way to keep your bullet journal interesting, make it a little bit more interactive instead of just having like standard illustration pages. So I thought I would show you how I made this as well. So basically you're going to use double the pages, because you're going to need to fold these pages inward so they can open out, and then glue that page down. I'm not describing this very well, but you can see what I'm doing. Sorry, I'm so out of it. You can see what I'm doing. So I just sketched out the idea, and it was cemetery gates and a cemetery. So I just sketched it out and glued down the back pieces so I could just open up the doors, and then cut out around the top of the gate, so it wouldn't just be a flat page. And using my dodgy little scissors that I used for collage, and then I just started inking the illustration. So I just literally Google image searched cemetery gates, there's Butters, and found something that was sort of simple. They kind of fit the sort of idea that I had in my head, and then I just went for it with a little fine liner. And like I usually remember to do, I will link all my supplies in the description box below. But generally I just have like a bunch of fine liners and just use whatever's handy. And I added in some grass. I wanted it to be kind of a little bit abandoned kind of vibes. It's kind of old looking. And the headstones were my days. So I just put the numbers on the front of the tombstones there. And some of you, if you watched my collage video, which was the last video I posted, one of the books that I'd found in the op shop was a book called English Children's Costume since 1775, and it's full of all these illustrations of kids in old-timey outfits. And I didn't use that book for that collage that I made, and this is why I sort of keep everything on hand, because sometimes that will be perfect for a different project. And I don't know about you guys, but when you add kids into like a horror movie, it's just extra creepy. Like they just make everything extra creepy. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have like these weird little children illustrations hanging out around the cemetery? Are they ghosts? Are they kids visiting? Who knows? But the fact that they're not colored and they're kind of like the paper's like a yellow, is yellowed, is kind of off-white. Yeah, made it a little creepy. And I did put this little boy, he's like definitely a ghost because he's like floating in the air. But that's sort of how I went with that. And that wasn't originally my idea to add the kids in, but I just saw that book sitting there and I thought, yeah, that'd be cool. And then I just added some watercolor paint to the tombstones and the gates. And painted in a little bit of grass. I didn't want it to be too colourful. And then I added the little zombie hand poking up out of the ground there as well. Because that was the original idea I was going with. And then I saw that book and I was like, oh no, I'm going to add little weird, like creepy kids into the mix. So that's how it ended up. And I really like this spread. It's really cute. Cute and creepy. So then when you get to this spread, you can open up the gates and then you can see the rest of the week. And that's how that looks. So I encourage you all to start getting creative with your bullet journals. It's really fun. We've got full moon in Taurus, again with the bloody fingers. Bored skeleton. I don't know, there's so many fun things you can do for Halloween. And then because my weeks go Monday to Sunday, the last 2 days of the week, the 30th and the 31st, were Monday, Tuesday. So that's the only days on that spread. And then I just made a little collage on the facing page, again, using one of the illustrations from that book and some other materials that I just had lying around. My one line a day and reflections with a little bit of blood splatter. And that is it. I'm pretty stoked with how this all turned out. It looks really fun. I can't wait to get stuck into some horror movies. And I want to thank you all for your patience with me while I've been recovering. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.